camera's going. Hopefully the battery lasts. Hopefully we can get through this quick and do it one take. All right, so I'm about to answer the bench press questions that I got on my Instagram and one that I got on my Facebook. And I'm actually live on Instagram right now. So now I'm talking to that camera because this camera's not going. So I'm live on Instagram right now. I'm gonna post what I got going on here on Facebook and then post this video on YouTube. So these are the bench press questions I got 2 weeks ago. The first one here, the question is a 3-part question. It says, how do you retract your scapula properly so they are stable and don't keep moving off? Retracting the scapula. So the best way to think of this and to do it is to think about putting your shoulder blades in your back pocket. That's sort of a cue that people like to use. So you're squeezing them together, so you're pinching the shoulder blades together, and then you're also thinking of tucking them behind you and keeping that position during the bench. Now the problem with a lot of bench presses in most gyms is that the pad is really slippery. So if the pad is really slippery, those shoulder blades will come apart as you're bench pressing, and that's pretty unfortunate. So what you can do is actually take some resistance bands and stretch them over the bench, and that way there's some more friction. So if you get some like Elite FTS bands, those will help you keep those shoulder blades in place. So once you have it down and set and back, you can then push against the bench and it won't slide. Also chalk can help with that if you can chalk up your back, but a lot of gyms don't have that either. So you're kind of stuck if your bench is slippery and you don't have the bands, but once again, you can pick up some from Elite FTS pretty easy. The second question in that comment is, what's the best hand positioning to ensure the forearms are vertical? I don't think it's really a hand positioning thing. I think it's more than that. When it comes to the hands, you just want the bar over the base of your palm the best that you can. To keep the forearms vertical, it's more to do with your grip. So you just have to kind of record yourself from the front. It depends on how much you're tucking, and it depends on where your grip's at. So just record yourself from the front or from behind, and make sure you're not going too wide or too close, and then make sure you're not over tucking or under tucking. And by doing that, you'll make sure the forearms are vertical from both sides. The last one is, what bar path is the bar meant to take in the bench press? Now, you'll hear different things. I've heard 3 so far. The first one I've heard is like a J curve, a reverse J curve. The second one I've heard is a straight diagonal line back. And the newest one that I've heard is actually back first and then up. And that one I like the most. That one makes the most sense to me. And so basically, it would mean you're pushing the bar back towards your face first, and then more so straight up, as opposed to the reverse J curve, which is sort of up first and then back. And it has to do with moment arms, but basically I wouldn't be super duper concerned with bar path right off the bat, especially if you're still working on things like hand positioning. I just wouldn't yet. But just know that you're supposed to be pressing somewhat back towards your eyes while you're doing the bench press. Next one, do board presses work? Do board presses work for what? Yes, board presses work. That's a vague question. I don't really know how to answer that fully, but yes, they work for what they're intended to do. Board presses, they shorten up that range of motion. They help you work on that top range, the lockout. So yes, they work for what they're supposed to do. Next question, do you ever utilize or use the Bulldog Grip found on Fitness IQ? Yes, I'm not sure if it's the technical Bulldog Grip, but that's referring to the placement of the bar over the base of the palm or right over the wrist. Yes, I definitely advocate that you place the bar as close as you can to right over your wrist. So you don't want it back here. This is a very common mistake. I've done a video that talks about it a little bit. I don't know if I ever released a video where I talk about it fully, but you don't want the bar all the way back in your hand. You want it up here. And I think the Bulldog Grip has the actual index fingers pressing on the bar. I do that when I do overhead press. When I bench, I just make sure it's over my wrist, and then I really grip hard. Devin Herman, the question is, to arch or not to arch? That is the question. Definitely arch. There should always be some arch. Now, how much you're gonna arch should vary based on what your goals are. If you are trying to lift the most weight that you can, then you want to maximize the arch. If you're just going in the gym and you're just benching, you don't need to arch that much. But more so than just an arch being an arch, it sets your shoulder blades in a good position, and it helps to protect the shoulders from injury. So you definitely want to arch, even if it's just a little bit. Your lower back should not be all over the bench. Tristan, I will get to your question in a second. I'm just gonna answer this last Facebook question for the sake of the YouTube video I'm shooting at the same time. So Ashley Lark on Facebook, she asked, butt on or off on the bench? Definitely keep the butt on the bench, especially if you're planning to compete. If you want the bench to be like legit, definitely keep the butt on the bench. You will get called for it if that butt lifts up in a meet or anything like that. And just like in any textbooks that you read about proper bench form, one of the 5 points of contact is the butt. So you want to keep the butt down on the bench. If you find that it comes up, that's something that you need to address. It means that you're using like some form of leg drive, which is good, but yeah, you definitely want to keep that butt on the bench. Okay, so Tristan's questions: will squats stunt my growth? 15 years old. This is a bench press video, but I will answer your question. I appreciate you asking. Squats will not stunt your growth. No resistance training will actually stunt your growth unless you break a growth plate. So that can happen with anything, but lifting will not. There's no research at all. There's no evidence at all that lifting resistance training will stunt your growth, especially if you do it properly. So as a younger person, your focus should be on proper technique, on learning the movements, and mastering body weight, stuff like that first, and then getting into more heavy loading. And when you do get proficient at the movements, you get good at things like squats when you're younger, then your chances for injuries will be less. And you should be doing a lot of different stuff. So don't get too tied into like back squatting or whatever if you're young. Do all kinds of stuff, single leg movements, different planes of motion, and just get a good feel for your body and for space. And then you can focus on squatting heavier as you get a little older, but don't worry about it making you shorter or stunting your growth. It won't happen unless you break one of those growth plates, which, like I said, that can happen with sport, that can happen completely outside of the gym. So as long as you don't do that, you're good. All right, so those are all my questions that I got for the bench press and this one for the squat. So I am done. Thanks so much for watching. If you did enjoy it, make sure to comment, subscribe for more, because there's always more, and I will see you in the next video. Haha.